welcome to the Marvel Cinematic University podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Canton III, and we are continuing our coverage of the Disney Plus series Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 5. Oh my goodness. It seems like we took a little pause. We took a little break from the action and got to some of the emotional beats and some of the bigger story points. But something that we don't pause on is patreon.com/MCUniversityPod. You get our bonus content, which I feel like in the last 2 weeks of April, it's gonna be a smorgasbord of stuff coming your way. So just stay tuned for that. We have Blade Trinity coming. There's going to be Invincible stuff because the finale is coming next week, and also, I mean, the subscriber mailbag is another thing that we always do that should be coming before the month is out. So it's all coming. It's coming soon in the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, we have this Daredevil episode, and I know, and I just have to say it quickly. We don't have a trailer yet for Avengers Doomsday. The folks at CinemaCon just saw it. They have lost their minds. Some of the descriptions have been very intriguing, but we will leave that for now until we get actual footage publicly, and we'll talk about it. And maybe Hunter, I, and Jake could talk about it online. But nonetheless, with that being said, let me introduce the super producer, Jake Christie. Jake, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I just checked. I was making sure on my phone to make sure that up to date the trailer still has not been released. Some people teach are losing their minds about it. But yeah, I don't know. Whenever they're gonna show it to us, they'll show it to us. I'm excited that people are excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where, as I say all the time, this is not conducive to being good at podcasting with the MCU. But like, I'm gonna see the movie. So like, that can sort of what the trailer shows.
1000%. And yeah, whenever that drops, we'll get to it. But in the meantime, we also have our friend Hunter Radesi, which we're glad to have on specifically for this season of Daredevil. It's nice to have you on for this. Hunter, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I think I'm feeling the same way you guys are. I've been really enjoying this Daredevil season so far. I have a lot of thoughts on this episode that just aired, and I too was refreshing Instagram just repeatedly right up until we started recording this. So
Yes, there's a lot going on in the MCU. The hype is back, and it's nice to see. But as far as Daredevil is concerned, Hunter, before we get into the specifics of episode 5, I want to know what you thought of the first 4 episodes up to this point.
ah, great question. Yeah, I've really been enjoying this season as a whole. I think that before this season came out, you heard a lot of people online saying things that, the people who got screeners and got to see the whole season before the rest of us got to see it. You heard a lot of people saying things along the lines of like, "Oh, this is the like tried and true continuation of the Netflix series that people were waiting for," and like this feels a lot less disjointed and it's a lot more like hit the gas and run. And I think all of that has been true. I mean, aside from the first couple episodes setting up the rest of the season and like taking a beat as they needed to do that, and sort of connecting all of this to what happened in season 1. I think it's been really like balls to the walls
Yeah.
since it started, and it's been very big and bold and brave in a way that I'm not sure I was fully expecting. And just as a fan of the character, it's been really cool to see. I mean, all of these characters thrown in new situations that we maybe haven't seen them in before, and situations we have seen them in before, but in like with a whole new angle, which I think is really interesting. I think that, I mean, this episode too that we're about to get into, I think is really well done and really beautiful in sort of emphasizing what this season is really about for a lot of these characters and what the intention is with these character arcs. I think after this episode, it should be more clear than ever what those first 4 episodes have really been setting up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like I'm really excited. I'm genuinely so excited to watch new episodes every week. It's been really fun.
It's jarring to me. This episode kind of like cinched it for me. It's kind of jarring to see how clear of a vision that they have now for the show and
Yeah,
how consistent it feels now. Where the story is like it's merging with the characters in a way that's perfect. Everybody's being used. Everybody matters. And I think from that standpoint, it's made it even more exciting to watch because, like you said, putting these characters into new elements and new situations as like I feel like, and we did it last week, and we're gonna do it again this week, where I feel like you could go into every single story and every single character and find something really interesting to talk about.
Absolutely.
So the thing that I want to do first is the thing that kind of stood out to me the most, and there's an element of real genuine emotion I felt at the end of the episode. Besides the obvious Wilson Fisk, and salute to Vincent D'Onofrio. We'll get into him later in his performance, which was mind blowing. But I really miss Foggy and Matt.
Yeah.
I miss them
Yeah.
so much. That going to that flashback and their relationship and seemingly the starting of that, and how Matt takes that message from Foggy at the end into the bullseye aspect of things was really cool and also really damaging at the same time.
Yeah.
It's an incredible way to tell that story by using your friend was killed by this person, but the message that your friend gave to you is something that you carry to help save this person. That just fucking blew my mind. So Jake, I'll start with you. What did you think of bringing Foggy back into the story through the flashback, and how that kind of affects Matt's decision making in this episode?
First and foremost, anyone who's listened to this pod long enough knows where I'm going to start. The fact that the flashbacks changed to the aspect ratio of the Netflix show, yes, thank you. But it didn't go unnoticed. The aspect ratio change noticer has logged on. Don't think I haven't noticed that those Sunrise and the Reaping trailers also show that they're in the same aspect ratio things they did in the Catching Fire. So I'm on notice, but I really liked it because I think it's really you can simplify Matt's motivations, and I've done this in the past. It's a mistake to he's Catholic, that's why he does that. But it's also because the people around him. Because I think what that flashback showed is that like the thing that like his Catholicism keeps in between is like mercy is obviously a very Catholic trait, and it's a thing that Foggy is, trying to insist on him. But also like justice and and judgment is also it's all, and he clearly is in love with the judgment part of it when he's young, when he's just forming his identity as Daredevil. And I think that Foggy is the one who reminds him of mercy, and the fact that he's showing mercy for the person who killed Foggy, I think that just puts a finer point on it. That like in some ways it makes it more imperative for him to show mercy, because like it's staring him in the face that if he lets Bullseye die, then like he's still killing him. Like it's not that there actually is no such thing as like balancing the scales. Like that's just not like I think what he's kind of that's not a. It's not that there's no such thing as balancing the scales, but like I think that the way he squares it, and I think in some ways he's right, even though in some ways he also just kill him, is that like it's not up to him. You know what I mean? Like he has to save him because all humans can do to one another is show mercy, and it's up for the guy upstairs to do the rest of it. And I think that like showing that like Matt is not just a one-dimensional character. He's someone who has grown and changed. And Foggy was such a positive influence on his life. He's not just that he's more than just a character that he's seeking revenge for,
Right.
That he was a living, breathing human being that had an effect on Matt.
Yes, there's the level of connection between the two characters. It's almost like they never left. It was beautiful to see. Hunter, let me ask you from the bullseye perspective, because Jake made a great point about like Matt's, Matt with the judgment aspect and that whole situation of it all. With Poindexter, there is a kind of like he's resigned to his fate. Like he's cool with it. Like you don't gotta save me. It's cool. It actually reminds me of a very early season 1 episode where it was that I can't remember if it was like one of those Russian crime bosses that Matt was stuck in like that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that
I know
building
exactly.
with.
It's actually that's the first episode that Matt ever speaks to Fisk, because Fisk like
Yes.
radios him on the guy's like walkie, and he talks to him from the rubble. Yeah.
Very similar in the way that went. So like I was like, oh, as soon as I'm watching them have that conversation, I'm like, oh, this brings me right back to season 1. So like I just love, again, this is a direct appreciation for them streamlining everything from the previous iteration on Netflix and bringing it here, which I think is a great touchstone. But like to the point I was trying to make, like as far as Poindexter is concerned and him being resigned to his fate, How do you feel about the way that they're presenting this version of the character? Because it seems like a stark departure from
Yeah.
what we've seen in previous iterations.
Yeah. I'm deeply interested to see where it goes. I think I'll say this about this iteration of Bullseye. I feel often that when adapting a character, obviously it doesn't have probably shouldn't be one for one, like most
Yeah,
of the time. Which is where a lot of people seem to get hung up. But for me, I'm like, as long as when the character's on screen, I still get, the same feeling out of him. Like, I still, the spirit of that character is still there. I'm okay with the adaptation, and like especially when you can do something different with the character and maintain that. I think that's when you're really cooking with like when you're
yeah,
really onto something special. And that's how I feel about this version of Bullseye, is that like, obviously, as we all know, in the comics he's just kind of a straight sociopath. Like, there's no balancing the scales. He just kills people. He likes killing people. That's just where it's at. But as Dario Scarpane has like said, he this version of Bullseye can't be that, because unlike the comic book version of Bullseye, who doesn't really have like an origin story, he's kind of like the Joker in this way, where he's allowed to be this unhinged, almost like inhuman sociopath, because we don't have any sympathy for him. Like, we don't know his story, we don't know if he's been manipulated, we don't know any of that. But here we know all of that.
yeah,
Shout out Daredevil season 3. And so because of that, he can't just become a caricature. Like, they've built a character, and they have to continue on with this character's development and like his motivations. And like, it almost doesn't make sense for the character that we saw in Daredevil season 3 and then got bits of in Born Again season 1, in
mhm,
my opinion, to just suddenly be this like careless sociopathic Joker-esque villain, because that's just not what they've been building towards. That would just be like fan service for fan service's sake. But what I think they've maintained really well is, even when, he's into this like, I'm sort of this warped version of the Punisher now, and I'm like trying to balance the scales. Like, I'm okay with dying because in my fucked up head, I almost think maybe I'm going to heaven because I've like balanced it out.
yeah,
Like, and I think that's really interesting, and it's almost bone chilling in the same way that a sociopath might be bone chilling. You have this guy who's almost like, he's like trying to feel emotions that
yeah,
he doesn't really understand, and
Exactly.
that's almost scarier in like a way, because you're like,
right,
man, like, all he's got to do is misinterpret what good is, and then it's over for everybody. And also at the same time, I don't really know what his next move is, and that's the same as Bullseye in the comics. Like, okay, he was out here trying to balance the scales, but based on this episode, he's saying to Matt, I did it, I balanced the scales, let me die, it's over,
right,
we're at even. We made it to
Yeah.
zero, like, let me die. And I'm like, now that that's not the case, I don't think that him and Matt are just going to be like buddy buddy. But I
right.
also like, I don't know exactly what happens next with this character really ever, and I think that they've maintained that aspect of Bullseye, which is what always makes him fun in the comics. So I think that that's been really interesting to me.
I think it's really well done. Because the thing I really get frustrated by is mentally ill people, and I say this as someone, I'm going to talk about my personal experience with OCD. I have very clear rules that make sense in my head, but they're not rational. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Mhm.
certain things that if I touch them, I have to wash my hands before I use my phone. Why is it some things and other things? I don't know. If you said like, Jake, that's not rational, I'm like, yeah, in his mind, he did balance the scales. Like, that's the thing. Like, he is grasping at what he thinks rational things are, because like, he's not a full-on sociopath, but he is someone who can't experience human emotion in the same way other people do. But he clearly wants to in some way. There's something that he's missing, and he wants some form of absolution. But because he does not have the moral framework that a regular person does, he is fainting at it, and he's not like confused, but he's like, I did it. Like, shouldn't it all be over? When you guys talk about revenge, shouldn't it be over? In the way that you see a lot of people who are neurodivergent, and I'm not saying that, I don't want to, he is obviously neurodivergent coded, but that's a loaded thing to say. But that they'll be like, I don't understand. I did all the social things and it didn't work. Like, he clearly thinks that he's going to be able to get off the hook because he is emulating what he sees other people do, but he's not actually experiencing it. So he can't really know what Matt's feeling like that he killed Foggy. And at the same time, but then also he can't understand why Matt's giving him mercy because he doesn't understand that either. And I like that he's playing that. I think sociopath is too often used in fiction just to mean like evil. And like, he's actually playing it as a guy who genuinely can't comprehend the inner workings of other people and understand it. And so that can allow him to do really heinous shit because he doesn't feel bad for other people. but it also can make him like, wait, this should be over. I balance the scales. Revenge was gotten. We're good.
The grand design,
Yeah.
the levels of conversation that it just kind of illuminates to me when I think of Daredevil and the Punisher, and I think of this Punisher One Last Kill special that's coming after this season, and there seems to the Punisher and Bullseye seem to have a lot more in common than one would think. And just like when you analyze those characters and take a look at their personalities and how they get along with things, not really far apart in terms of the ideology and what essentially goes on. It just really depends on the perspective that you want to look at it at this point. So I think the great point as far as like I don't know where Bullseye goes, it leads me back to Matt and this decision that he makes and bringing Poindexter to Karen. And we've been talking about this entire season that the Matt Karen relationship, while they are kind of they're have the same goal in mind, but they are on very shaky ground in terms of like where the ideologies and where everything fits in between them. And bringing Bullseye into the mix, oh my goodness, these last 3 episodes are going to be really fascinating because where Karen is at this point, I just don't think that she has the room for any compassion for this guy, and I can't blame her. And that's the
No,
best part about it. I love looking forward to seeing where that part of it goes. Um, Hunter, I want to ask you, how have you felt about the Matt Karen relationship to this point in this season, and then now adding this element into it? Where do you think that kind of perhaps splits them a little bit further?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, if we're talking about this show making an effort to remember these characters' previous appearances, and Dario, you know, one of the show he worked on really for Netflix was The Punisher, right? And Karen is in The Punisher, and a big thing that they play on with her, like, sort of, the love triangle they've hinted at between, like, her and Frank and Matt, is that,
Great
like,
point.
whereas Matt, there's a lot of obvious things she's attracted to with Matt, but I think that here, what you're going to start to see if there's a schism is like something that I think she appreciates about Frank is that although she might not, you know, condone him just going in and like shooting up an entire room or something, I do think that there's a part of her morally that leans more Punisher than Daredevil, and I think if Frank burst into the room and shot Poindexter in the head, I don't think she'd be that mad about it, and I
no.
think that she'd probably rather that than like look for grace
I
around.
mean, the tough place she's in, and this is, I think, a tough moral place that honestly undergirds a lot of our society's problems, is that Frank wants to kill Poindexter, and Matt wants to show him mercy. And Karen would like Poindexter dead, but she doesn't want to kill him or have someone she loves kill him.
And
Like, she wants him to be gone, but she
Yeah,
doesn't want to have to go through the moral cognitive dissonance
yeah,
yeah,
of killing him.
and I will say that I think that this dynamic, and I'm pulling it back to my main man really quick because I do think it's an interesting point in this discussion, is like when they talk about how the decision to like kill Foggy was not made lightly and how he was like the heartbeat of the show and like the original 3 seasons. I think that moments like this and conflicts like this are where you really start to see that because Foggy was like the perfect middleman. Like I think that
yes,
he
yes.
was this glue that kept Matt and Karen together. He could like temper them out. Like when Matt is going towards the dark, when Karen's going towards the dark, he could always bring them back to center. And I
Mhm.
think, I mean, to go to your like original, which is, I mean, these conflicts, this is why you have an episode like this to kind of remind the audience like this is what Foggy did for these people. And I think that it,
Yes.
it harkens back
Hmm.
to the first season of Born Again when Matt is having that conversation with Frank when he sees him, and he kind of yells, I'm not gonna be able to quote it exactly, but he basically says like Foggy was better than either of us. And then like this episode is just confirmation of that, right? Where it's like Matt needs these like reminders. Like he wants to be a good person. He's desperately trying to be a good person, but he almost like he has this darkness in him where he's like, almost need Catholic guilt to like bring me back. I'm not killing people because it's like a religious thing for me. And I mean, obviously there's more to it than that, but it's like
Yeah.
he has this thing that's like a rope for him that he's like pulling onto to kind of like make sure he doesn't become Frank Castle or Bullseye or whoever, right? But he like Foggy Nelson was just like an inherently decent man. And it was really important for Matt to like have that in his life. And the obvious parallel between like he's dragging along Bullseye and then he's remembering this time just before the events of season 1 where Foggy, obviously it's not as bad as Bullseye, but he's like looking into the eye of a guy who's been really mean to him his entire life and who he has every reason to just let eat shit in prison.
Yeah.
But he goes out of his way to help this person just because it's the right thing to do. And like when he was alive, I think it was easier for Matt to just argue with him on that and be like, Foggy might come around to like my way of thinking sometimes and stuff. But now that Foggy is dead, Matt like he has to confront the fact that Foggy was right and that Foggy was like probably a better person than him. And he just like has to have that in his head at all times. And I think that Karen is maybe, I think it's what's interesting is what will be interesting to see is I don't fully know how Karen is like holding on to Foggy. Like this episode shows how Matt is holding on to Foggy. And I think that Karen would like to, but I think she's struggling with that a little bit more. And I think she's struggling and like the dark thoughts are coming in a little bit more. And I do think that obviously there's going to be a conflict in the next episode about it, but I'm curious to see where Karen goes.
I think there's a level of justification that I have for Karen Page's character that I can't really complain about what she ends up doing or
Totally.
decides to do based off of everything that she's experienced in this entire show from going all the way back to Netflix. So I think there's an aspect that I'm just excited to see how she reacts to this and how Matt plays off that because legitimately, regardless of whether that's the right thing to do, mercy, all of that stuff, you are really putting a lot of pressure on your relationship and you're putting a lot of pressure on this entire operation that you're trying to
I
do.
mean, it actually is like a good, like it's a good encapsulation of why vigilante justice is bad. It's like, there's the classic like thought experiment whatever, because I'm someone who is staunchly against the death penalty, and it's like, well, if someone murdered your loved one, wouldn't you want them to die? And it's like, yeah, and that's why the families of victims are not involved in that process, because like they're not clear-headed. And so it's like, you can't blame Karen for being pissed. Like, I know that, like, yeah, vigilante justice is probably, is not the solution to these things. And also, the reason why you don't leave someone like Bullseye's fate up to Matt Murdock and Karen Page is because no shit, they're not going to be rational about it. Like,
Right.
like I think that this show does really well, and also the Netflix show did as well. Is it's like it doesn't. Yes, it demonstrates how there are problems with the legal system and in the world that Wilson Fisk moves in. That, like, especially in the early seasons of the Netflix version, like, the vigilante justice is necessary. The whole system's bought off, yada yada yada. But it also doesn't pretend like it's not like right, like a guy in a devil mask also maybe should not be the adjudicator of justice for everything. That's also not ideal system. Like we're all there's no easy way out. There's no easy. What to do with Poindexter is not an easy question.
Yeah.
Like he was in prison. Was that justice? I don't know. If Matt Murdock beats him to death in the church, is that justice? I don't know. Like it's not an easy question.
Yeah. There's before you go, Hunter, I want to say there is a realization that I think is coming to Matt that regardless of how this goes, there is a cost to all of this that he's doing. The bringing Bullseye in, this entire operation with Fisk, being involved with Bullseye at the boxing match now. They even have a little back and forth about that in the episode, knowing that Fisk is going to come after both of them with everything that he's got. So it is what I love about again, I'll say this again. What I love about this season so much is that they have a very, very clear vision of how they are sending these characters on a mutually assured destruction. Like it's gonna happen. Something bad is gonna happen to Fisk and Matt by the time we get to the end, because both of them can't help it. They have to be who they are, and who they are you got the vigilante on one side, and you got the kingpin of crime on the other, who is trying to do this, faux mayorship thing, and it ends up, as we're gonna get to, costing him his wife and then now he loses it, and this is probably what's going to cost him his entire empire at the same time. So these guys just can't help it, and that's what I love. Like characters who can't help it, who just like I have to be this way. I cannot change regardless. Season one, you could make your quibbles about the flaws of it and how it was Frankenstein together, but I do think the one thing that it accomplished is it showed you they both tried to be another person.
Yep.
They both tried it as hard as they could, and by the time we got to the last 3 episodes, they were like, can't do it no more. And you can see how them being who they are is contributing to everything falling apart around them, and the way that it's going, it's going to lead to a great explosion, which I can't wait to see. So that part of the Matt Bullseye conversation and everything that they went through and the flashback part was awesome. I'm gonna get to Fisk soon, but there was some more stuff in this episode with flashbacks and more stuff with different characters. One thing that we've also been talking about throughout the entire season, our guy Buck. He's an interesting guy. There's a lot going on with him, and we find out that he has a little bit of a friendship and a kinship with Wesley. And we see Wesley back in this episode. I'm sure, Hunter, you were excited to see Wesley once again. But yeah, that was awesome. And to kind of know that Buck was a fixer. He's probably the dude with all those suicides in season one that of all those folks that had just turned up dead. That he was probably the dude behind that. What do you think of Buck's character, and not only in terms of seeing him in the flashbacks, but that relationship with Daniel? Very interesting interactions in this episode. What did you think of how Buck's character is kind of evolved as the show's gone along?
I think that Buck in season 2 is like another one of just like the clearest indicators in the jump in like quality between
Mhm.
season 1 and season, because in season 1, not that he was like, it's like you said at the beginning of this podcast episode, like you can every single character who is
Yeah.
in this season has some sort of like personal arc going on, or some sort of like something about them that's deeply interesting. And Buck in season 1 felt very much like, yeah, he's just like nameless like Fisk helper number 3, like that's just kind of was his vibe. And now he is such a full-blown character. And I think, to start with the Wesley part of it, I really liked that. I don't even know necessarily that I knew that I needed it or that I wanted it, but like Wesley, one of the bright spots of that season 1, I mean, one of the many, many bright spots of the original season of Daredevil, is that like Wesley wasn't just a fixer for Fisk. Like he was the closest thing he had to a real friend.
Yeah.
And that's what made that relationship so interesting. And I think I mean, people forget Wesley wasn't even in an entire single season of Daredevil, and he made such an impact on fans
Yeah.
as like, he was like the lion tamer. He was like the only guy who could like speak to Fisk as an equal and get away with it, which was really interesting. And I think that since then, it's made anyone else who's been like a Wesley type, like a Fisk right hand, a Fisk fixer, whatever you want to say. Like season 2, well, not season 2 because he was in jail, but season 3 had I'm forgetting his name, something Manning, but he was like taken from the comics. He was like kind of a fixer. He was like there, but he was
Oh,
never
yes,
like
yes, yeah,
a
yeah.
Wesley, right? Like he was just kind of another guy. And then I think Born Again starts up, time has passed, and now there's just like another nameless guy in this first season of Born Again who's Fist's right hand. And I think people like accepted it. It was fine, but it felt very like, sure, like there just has to be a guy who fills this role. But I think with this episode, kind of doing a very comic booky move and like retroactively
Yes.
revealing that he's
Loved
like
it.
was
Loved
like
it so much.
yeah, that he was like not only did he know Wesley, but they appeared to have like camaraderie. Like he seemed to be some sort of like friend of Wesley, right? And I think that makes Fisk trusting Buck as much as he does. And I mean, obviously, he's not on a Wesley level with Buck, but it's like the closest thing we've seen since Wesley. I think that revealing that, like, yeah, it's because Fisk knows that Buck comes Wesley approved, which is like such a massive stamp of approval for someone like Fisk. And I just think it adds another level to that layer, or another layer to that relationship between Fisk and Buck, that makes me like appreciate even Buck in season 1 a little bit more, where you're like, oh wow,
Yeah.
he's like been around Fisk for a minute, we've established this, and he like, you understand now why Fisk likes him so much. I think it makes that relationship a lot more interesting. the
And that's
Dan-
why
yeah,
what I was gonna say was like I mean it like before the episode started, they did the previously on when they did that they went back to the season one point where he shows up to prevent the hit on Fisk, and it
yep,
was like, oh, this gives him a little bit more color to that and this character and how that works, and again it just has me drawn into where it goes with him.
yeah,
And then on top of that, then you add the Daniel element because even with all of the intimations and even with them taking the drive to Albany, the conversations, and it seems like Buck knows.
yeah.
Like he's pretty in tune with like he's giving Daniel every opportunity possible to, hey man, just do it. Just fess up. Just come on. I'm trying here. I'm trying my best. I don't want to kill you. That's what the vibe that comes off of him to me. I don't want to kill you. I really don't. Here. You're gonna get involved with me. We're gonna do this together, and I'm hoping that by this happening, that you level with me, or you take care of BB for once and for all. Because every single time in this episode, we have BB showing up to the hospital
Yep.
and BB getting that information out of him. Daniel, what are you doing? You're putting yourself in the most terrible position possible.
Very very fun of the writers to put Michael Gandolfini in the most Sopranos coded
Yes.
subplot.
So the thing that was very fun for me, and this is a quick detour. So
Sure.
they stopped at that like lumber supply hardware store place.
Hmm.
You know how like the restaurant that they in Astoria was like a block away from me. That lumber supply store, I just looked it up, is literally 1 mile from the house I grew up in until I was 9 years old. It's right across the street from the church that I went to. It's right across the street from the church that my grandmother's funeral was at a few years ago. It is like right in my. I'm like that looked as a and because I thought Beckerley might have been a chain New York. Like there's only like five of them. I'm like I think that was the one but that was my family's hardware store until I was 9 years old. Now I will say the thing I thought was very funny is if you're driving from New York City to Albany, you wouldn't go through Rockland County. What are you talking about? You go straight up through Westchester. That's ridiculous. But no, that was fun. But no, I think that it is a very Sopranos looking area is the thing.
Yeah,
But no, I think that he's just that whole bit I really liked because I like you're saying that he clearly was trying to get him to fess up, and he's trying to like be delicate with it. And I think that he finally. I like the way that this ends because obviously he's trying to intimidate him a little bit, but more than
Yeah.
anything, he is like, okay, if you're not just gonna fess up, then I'm going to make you complicit in something that you can't come back from, right?
Yes.
Because like as of now, Daniel he's seen some like shady shit, but he's not been an accessory to hiding a body, you know?
Right.
yeah. I this is was one of my favorite. I actually enjoyed this cliffhanger as much as I love the like what's Karen gonna say about Bullseye cliffhanger. I think what I've talked about with other people who watch this show more than that is this cliffhanger because it's like there's a couple ways I guess it could go. I mean, it's like if Daniel does like participate in chopping up a body and hiding it, then it's like he's done that and it's like okay, either he can now just fully commit to this or he can go back and like go right to BB and be like you were right. I like how do I get out? Like what do I do? And then you have the whole like, okay, well, if she knows that if she finds out that he took part in that, even if he is trying to like turn back on it,
Mhm.
does that end their relationship? Because she's like, listen, my uncle was one of those bodies at one point, and like now you've participated in it, and I just like can't look at you the same. And I'm like, or does he just like run in that van and just drive off as fast as he can? But like, I think he's smarter than that because it's like if he does that, they're just gonna kill him. Like there's
Yeah.
no getting out of it. So it's like I'm so curious to find out what this turns into for Daniel.
It reminds me a lot of Michael Mando in Better Call Saul. Like that
Yes.
is
Oh, that is
he's
such a good
it's
pull.
a very very similar, like I am caught between these two worlds and I kind of want to stay in between. You get to a point where you don't want to betray either side. He clearly has a kinship to BB and doesn't want and lets her in on information that he knows he shouldn't be giving out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with Buck, like there's clearly a respect between the two of them. And then you got Fisk looming over everything, and this is the part where we get to Fisk.
Yep.
This is not the person to be playing these games with.
Yep.
It's a very, very I wouldn't even call it delicate. It's a goddamn powder keg that's about to go off. So
Yeah,
that, yeah.
I think it's a really smart way to play it, because I think that, like, okay, they're just gonna kill him, like, that would be.
Hmm.
I feel like that's almost more trouble than it's worth, because like he is their communications director, like he's not someone who's actually easy to disappear, and I think that Buck's making the call, like, no, I'm gonna force your hand. You're gonna have to, because Hunter, I think you might be right that he might try to go report it to BB, but like that's not gonna end well. If he tries to do that, then they can kill him. But it's like you can't actually pussyfoot in this world. Either you are in or you're not in, and he's forced his hand for him. I'm fascinated to see, and just some really great acting from Michael Gandolfini, because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really do feel like he's conflicted and you
Yeah, agree.
don't know which way he's gonna go, which is
Yeah.
really hard in like TV acting, because it's like, generally you can be like, oh, I have an idea where the story is. I have no idea what he's gonna do.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
taken a character that is fully complicit in a lot of really atrocious things and made him just like so goddamn likable.
Yeah,
Crazy.
sympathetic to a degree, because I think there's just a level of, not necessarily that he wants to do the right thing, but he kind of just doesn't want to mess with anybody. He kind of just wants to do what he's doing, and as you always find out in these situations, it never works out
I
that
mean,
way.
I think that's the thing that happens a lot with situations like these. It's not that he has like some moral epiphany. It's that most people don't have the stomach to kill people and bury bodies. But the thing is, what happens is a lot of people get put into a situation where they have the choice to either lose their identity or kill people and bury bodies, and a lot more people are willing to do that in that situation than, like, does he want to lose feeling important? Because he was just a poor kid from Staten Island. Does he want to lose that? Like, in the abstract, he doesn't want to kill people and bury bodies, but if the alternative is losing that and have it just go back to be a poor kid in Staten Island, he might.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's always possible like that. I'm looking forward to seeing how that arc continues and gets down to the end, because he's been even in season one. Like, I think he's been a really great supporting character in this show. So I'm excited to see what they have going for him. And the reason why I left Wilson Fisk for this piece of it is because I thought Vincent D'Onofrio's performance was just mind blowing in this
Mm-hmm.
episode. Just the range of emotions, the back and forth with him and Vanessa, the back and forth with him and the doctors, and all of these things that he's been experiencing and like emoting was just on another level. That story being told of like really losing someone, and also being done in the most tragic of ways, where you think you lost somebody
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, I got him back. Because that's the thing that got to me
Yeah.
when she came back. When
I'm
she
like, you
came back,
can't. I'm like, they pussied out. Like, really? That was my thought. I'm like, they really did. Really?
when she came back, and I was like, oh, are they okay? So wait, there's still time in the episode, so I don't know how this is gonna go. But to rip that away and rip away that person who, and then we get the flashback, obviously, of him and Wesley, and Wesley putting him on to her. This idea that this person was his everything, if you think about, like, and that's the thing about having, imagine if we talked about this last week, imagine if they had recast that role, that would not have hit the same.
Yeah.
You have all of this history,
Yeah.
all of this rich history between the two characters, of their entire relationship and how that grew, and how he trusted her so much. He trusted her with everything. And to lose that person that you trusted so much, that love, oh my God, this person is gonna lose it. And you can see that he lost it. And it just, yeah, just nothing but applause and an ovation to Vincent for how he performed in this episode. Just great stuff. But I'll start with you, Hunter, from a storytelling perspective and how they laid this out for us. How did you feel as we were kind of going through the beats of Vanessa flashbacks, Vanessa dreams, Vanessa kind of talking incoherently before she died. Like, all of it was a really, really well done.
Yeah, it was incredibly well done. I also had the a brief moment where I was like kind of disappointed, because I was like, oh man, like the death really, like I really saw what they were doing there, and I thought they might be pulling it back, but then they started going into the flashbacks, and they were going in really heavy on the like how important she ends up being to Fisk flashbacks, and I was like, no way they do all that and then she doesn't die. I
Yeah.
was like, I was like 100%. But yeah, I mean, I think it ended up being genius to like give Fisk that moment of of relief almost, just to like tear it away from him again, because it simultaneously makes her actual death like so much more heartbreaking, maybe probably one of the most heartbreaking deaths in the MCU. And like,
I would agree.
yeah, simultaneously it makes it way more heartbreaking, but it also like is kind of sweet in that they allow Fisk and Vanessa to have like one last
Yes.
nice moment together, instead of, you know, the last moment just being like this weird boxing match, like glance at each other and then she gets hit in the head. It's like they have one last moment of intimacy
Yeah.
that is both like a blessing and a curse, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like you have this and you have that memory, but also it makes the death that much harder. It's the only time I think I've ever seen Vincent D'Onofrio like break away from Fisk voice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Was like, I think also really like he truly portrayed that character as like a different person in that
Yeah.
moment, and I think that really drove home just how devastating he was. He was
Mhm.
truly like just outside of his normal mind.
Yeah.
um and yeah, and just the way that that episode ends, two episodes in a row ending with Vanessa dying, uh but like,
And the goddamn waves.
and the waves, yeah, that's what I was just about to bring up. Like the sound of the waves, like
Yeah.
it's just kind of losing it in slow mo. Like you just feel it leaves you breathless. Like I didn't know what to say afterwards, and I was like, I it leaves you with this feeling of just absolute devastation and nothingness. And it's because it like builds up, it takes everything from season one when you first see Vanessa, and it forces you to remember everything from that first moment all the way up until this last moment, and it gives you both of those moments in the same episode, and it's like so much weight just building up, like tick 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 tick, and then it just all falls out, and then it's just nothing. And it's
Mhm.
just it's so hard to just sit with that nothing when you felt so much for so long. And if it that's how I feel as a viewer, I can't imagine what Fisk is gonna do with that.
Yeah, so quick detour before I throw it to Jake, because now that you're bringing that up, made me think of something that we didn't realize last episode that a lot of people focused on. Brad Winderbaum even put it on his IG story. Um, when Vanessa got hit with the stuff in the head, as Matt was running off, you get that look of the allegedly the Watcher,
Yep.
and he did not. Winderbaum did not dissuade anybody from believing that that was a Watcher. It seemed like it was. So I almost wonder, Hunter, from a nerd standpoint, does this feel like Vanessa's death is a canon event based off of what we saw in Into the Spider Verse and
I
that whole
mean,
situation?
yeah, and when I say, when you say canon event, I think of it less as like a, oh, this is confirmation that she has to die in every timeline, and more
Yeah.
just like this is confirmation that any timeline where Fisk does lose Vanessa is like a universe altering moment. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
a thing that I don't necessarily mean like, oh, it's gonna like impact Doomsday, but just like the universe that we exist in when we're watching Daredevil. This is something, or any storyline that like Fisk has like impacts at all. This is just something that fundamentally changes the DNA of
Yes.
that, like going forward. Because we don't really, I mean, we haven't seen Fisk without Vanessa intimately like we're about to, ever, like this version. I mean, we got like what, like a couple episodes where we
At
didn't
the
really
start of the
get a
show.
ton of
Yeah.
Fisk at the start of the show. Like we didn't
Right.
actually, they used the introduction of Vanessa as the audience's introduction of Fisk, like really, in that first season. So we
Right.
just like, we don't know Fisk on a personal level without this person keeping him in check. Like we don't know what the monster is under there, or maybe even worse, what the human is under there. Like we just don't know. And like he is so immensely powerful, and I think that, I mean, it's on the nose, but it's worth saying, like the conversation between not between Vanessa and not Kathy Hochul in the last episode. I think that that becomes, that there's a reason they put that in there, right? Like
Right.
it's like I cannot back
Yes, I cannot
Natasha's
back Fisk
Mayor Fisk.
without you.
Right.
Yeah.
And what she, I mean, obviously the face value version of that is like Fisk is a terrible person, but you at least can direct that in like a smart way. But I think that the subtext to that is like, without you, Fisk will fuck this up.
Yeah.
Like he
1000%.
will, not only will he ruin the lives of several people, but he's going to ruin his own lives, and he might take an entire city with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and obviously immediately that's now what might happen. Like, I think that that's an incredibly exciting way to, and I mean, after, now that this is tied in so well, I guess you can say after essentially 5 seasons, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it might be time to see where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think there is such a great element to the idea of character driving story as opposed to story driving character.
Yeah.
I that characters being able to evolve and being put in new situations, as you said earlier, and then having these things thrown at them, and then leaning into their worst impulses as opposed to anything else, and keeping it safe and keeping it easy. Now we get a Fisk that's kind of like, I don't know what we're gonna see. Like, that's the best part. We don't know what we're gonna see. It's completely unpredictable at this point. But Jake, I'll ask you, like, this entire storyline with Vanessa and Fisk throughout this episode. How did you feel watching that? Well, how did you receive it?
I mean, I think the thing that makes the thing that makes it so scary to see Fisk react the way he does in this episode is that he is completely not monstrous at all. His behavior in it is completely recognizably human, as anyone who's ever dealt with a family member in a health crisis. Like, he's not playing it like Wilson Fisk. He's playing it like a person who's really concerned about someone he loves.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this episode ends with the thing that is bringing the humanity out of him, the little he has, dying, is just like, well, shit. If the one thing that made him a human is gone,
Oh
then
boy.
what does he have? And like, it really is like, and you can see in that last moment, like, how, because like, I think so many monsters, like, he became a monster because the little boy inside him, is scared, and like, you can almost see the flashbacks back to, the flashbacks we used to get in the original Daredevil
Yeah.
of Fist. Like, he is as unmoored as he was then. And so, yeah, like, there really is no telling. Like, he was, trying to hold it together at this episode. Once again, the same with the people when they're like, I think a version of this episode that would have been much worse is him like holding a gun to a doctor's head and saying like, save her, whatever you can do. But like, no, he's
Yeah.
trying to be
Normal.
because
Yeah.
he loves her, because he actually is, the way he feels about Vanessa is actually normal love. Like, it's not some twisted bullshit, And so you feel bad for him, even though he's like a monstrous piece. Like, he's one of the worst characters I've ever watched on television.
Awful.
But I feel bad for him because he's losing. Because I can see what losing the most important person in your life looks like, and that's what's happening to him. And there's almost no one that I wouldn't feel bad for if that happened to them.
Yes, it just puts him in such an interesting situation going forward, and one that you can only see going terribly for him. Overall, at the end of this, like, with all his might, with all his power, he can do all of these things, but there's also people higher than him. We still have the Mr. Charles thing to sort out. That now I believe that he's gonna be a little bit more unhinged dealing with him. And what does that lead to? Like, that's another piece of this that we're forgetting. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the Daniel situation, like all of that stuff too. And then, of course, Bullseye and Daredevil, who he has a heart on for at this point. And then Karen too. Like all of these people are just on a collision course to a very, very explosive last 3 episodes. So what I'll do right now to spin it forward, as we've been doing every single week. Hunter, I'll ask you, like, what are you looking forward to the most in terms of how this story will continue and most likely conclude as we go to the end of season 3. Even though I do have to comment on Mike Coulter this week, and Mike Coulter, he's the new Mark Ruffalo, he's the new Tom Holland,
Yeah.
just out here like
I
being an unk, spoiling everything.
I was talking with my girlfriend about that because exactly what you just said. I was like, it's so funny because I was seeing people online get so mad at him, and I'm like, sure, but they're like, why would you do that? Like, why would you spoil? And I was like,
He
I don't know.
was so
He's
happy.
like someone's like dad. Like he's like an uncle, right? Like I'm like he
Yes,
doesn't know.
that's
I'm like he's probably
exactly
not
the
even
behavior.
he's not even watching this season. He probably thinks season two's aired already. Like he just has like no idea. And he's just out here
He's
posting.
so happy.
He
You
was
know
like,
the
"Oh,
thing
my friends," and like not even thinking about it at all. And I was like, you got to respect, I guess, the joy behind that.
that is, you know what that is like. That is so hashtag wash agenda, like
Yeah,
just not caring to the point where you're just like the way that he takes the selfies too. Like he has this big cheesy smile on his
but like
face. It's like
I
it's
can't
so
even be
funny.
I can't
It's
even be
so
frustrated
funny.
about it. Like I feel
Me,
like
no, I'm not. It's
I'm
funny.
like, man, he's just having a good time out there. He's just happy to be
Mhm.
back. He's just like,
No, I no. If you keep hearing, I keep seeing videos of what's his name, Kirk Acevedo, talking about how he had to sell his house and all of this stuff. And this is somebody who's been on Marvel shows and DC shows and all different types of TV and talking about like it's hard to get work out here for these folks. So I
yeah,
can imagine Coulter getting that Marvel check again. Gotta feel good. So
yeah,
like,
totally.
I get it and I understand, but just to get back to less shenanigans, like in terms of like where you see the story going and how or what you may be most interested in as far as the story continuing.
Yeah. Do you mean, just to clarify? Do you mean like specifically the last like 3 episodes of season two, or like season three as well?
Well, no, for right now, season two, because we
Okay,
could
great.
definitely get to
Great.
season three at the end of it. But
No, you're good.
season two for now,
You
yeah.
brought up like Coulter's pictures, and I was like, do you
I,
want to
I just thought
talk
it
about
was
it?
hilarious. I feel like you couldn't go through this week and not mention it because it
Yeah,
was
no,
funny.
totally. Great. Yeah, I mean, it is very, like we've been saying this whole episode, it is very clear to me that this is a season where the production team and the writers and the cast and everybody involved is very excited about what they've done and has a very, very clear and concise goal in mind for the end of this season. And they know what they're doing, and they know how they're getting there. They know
Yeah,
exactly how fast they want to get there. And I would say that what I appreciate about this episode a lot, um, outside of just, I guess, all of it, if you want to say that this is like an ode to the Netflix series, it really is. Not in just the like lighting and the welcome back green lighting and the like aspect ratio and the wigs, and
yeah.
all
Shout
that.
out to the wigs.
The wigs, baby. Shout out to the wigs. It's that this episode is not the kind of episode that I think people would have expected from this season based on the previous 4 episodes.
Right.
I think that this is an episode that ends where a lot of people probably assumed it was going to start.
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
they took
Yeah.
they they clearly have confidence, and they took that second to make the kind of episode that honestly you were more likely to see in like a 13 episode Netflix season, where they
Yes,
just
I
like,
agree with that. The pause.
yeah, like the pause episode where they just do the character development, and it's
Well,
not like,
people hated the. By the way, people hated the pauses. I remember
they
that.
sure did, and I remember that too. And I also think that if you take this episode and you put it in season one, it doesn't work. And I'm a lot more skeptical about it because I'm
Right,
like,
you're right about
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
know that you have the time to do this.
Mhm.
But I just have complete and total faith right now, and I'd love to be proven correct in the last 3 episodes of this season. And it's all the things that we have talked about, and all the things that this episode really wanted you to stop and think about. What is like how do Matt and Fisk as characters come out of this season? Like they've committed so fully to being who they are now, or have been forced to commit so fully to being who they
Yes.
are now. And it's obviously speeding towards a collision between the two of them. And when that happens, like I'm so genuinely curious about like the last like 15 minutes of this season specifically,
Yeah.
because I think that once this collision happens, that's where I understand where that's going. But on the other side of that, who are Fisk and Matt after that collision happens? After this season has resolved itself, they've been very, very clear publicly. Dario has said many a time that he's like, Mayor Fisk's like storyline is like the last season and this season. And so I'm like, if not Mayor Fisk, like who are these people at the end of all of this? where does Matt land with Karen? Like, who is Karen at the end of all this? Like, I'm
Mhm.
thrilled to see how she interacts with Dex and Matt in the next episode, because I think that she, as a character, she was barely in this episode. I'm pumped for her to hopefully get more time in the next episode, to like for us to really explore her and how this is impacting
Yeah.
her and all of these events. Yeah, I'm thrilled to see how things play out between Daniel and Buck. Like, I'm thrilled to see where Daniel grows as a character in the last 3 episodes. It just felt like they really wanted to use this episode to make us stop, take a breath, appreciate what we have, understand what we have, understand who these characters are, so that they can just once again hit that gas and race towards where it's going. And like, I'm just so thrilled to see what that is, because they're so wholly confident in it, and it makes me confident in it. And I'm excited.
Right, and there's a lot of elements to still introduce to it because we haven't seen Jessica Jones yet.
I
So
that's
that's
And honestly, a testament to this season that so much of the marketing was like, Jessica Jones is
so
back,
much of
and
it.
we're
Yes.
5 episodes in, we haven't even seen her yet, and I like, not that I forgot about her, but no part of me is like, I need like, they promised me Jessica, where's Jessica? Because I'm a little bit like, no, this is great. Like, I don't think
And
it
at the
needs Jessica. You know what I'm saying?
right, and at this point, if anything, she's gonna feel like more of an additive as opposed
Mhm.
to the thing that man, I really needed Jessica Jones to show up right fast. This is the thing that I'm waiting
Yeah,
for. No, she's gonna fit right into where the story is
yeah,
and just continue to keep the train moving, and you could feel that consistency continue. So that's kind of like where I'm excited to see where she slots in and how she fits in. But Jake, I'll ask you the same question in terms of whether it's these characters or this
Yeah.
story in general. Like, how are you seeing these next couple of episodes
Well,
playing out for you?
I'm not looking to make predictions because
No,
I'm
I'm not even predictions. I
no
mean,
what
like
I
in terms
want
of
to
what you're
see. Yeah,
interested
yeah,
in. Yeah,
yeah.
what
I mean,
you're.
obviously, like the easy answer is like, what's Fisk gonna do? He's gonna go crazy, but he's gonna go crazy, and that's gonna be great. But the thing
Mhm.
that I've been watching this whole season, I think I called it at the beginning, is like, this is the first time we've ever like, Matt Murdock right now does not exist. Even
Yes.
when his cow's off, he's living as Daredevil. At some point, he's gonna have to reestablish Matt Murdock as a person. And what does that look like, right? Like, how is he forced to become Matt Murdock again? Because
Yes.
I don't know if he wants to. Does this look like a guy who wants to go back to being a normal person? I don't think so. And so, how does he resolve that? So often we see the opposite. In the first season of Born Again, we saw it to some extent, where it's like a regular guy who doesn't want to have to go back to his superhero alter ego. And this is a guy who is living underground as a superhero alter ego, and he wants nothing to do with the regular world again. But the regular world is not going to let him do that, you know. And so I want to know, how does that resolve, and how does that affect his relationship with Karen? Because I think Karen really likes being with Daredevil.
Yes.
And I think the things that she doesn't like about him is when Matt Murdock pops up. Like bringing Bullseye back, that's a Matt Murdock thing he's doing.
It sure is.
And so I think that there's a lot to be explored there, because he's really indulging in the worst parts of himself, even if it's necessary, even if he is persona, even if he's public enemy number one. I just am really interested to see how that resolves itself, and how it affects those around him, how it affects the world. Like, how does the world? What's the explanation the world gets for where Matt Murdock's been?
Yeah.
With like the classic thing. I remember in not Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman. There was the newspaper that's like Superman dead, and like in it, like 2 pages in, it says also newspaper reporter Clark Kent dead. It's like, what is it going to be like? Daredevil was on the loose for 8 months, and Matt Murdock's also back. Like, what is it going to be? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
Yes. No, that's a great point. You can't take. I mean, it's the thing that the superhero genre, specifically the MCU, has been doing. They're doing it with Spider-Man right now when we get to Brand New Day, and just Peter Parker just caring about being Spider-Man and how that affects his emotions and stuff like that. And we're in the midst of that with Daredevil too. So I think for me, I think the one thing I would look at specifically, and I think you actually mentioned it, Jake. How does what Matt does, and I'd say how does what Fisk does affect everybody else around them? And I'm talking about even the characters below. Like I'm talking about the Bucks and the Daniels, the BBs, like those people, the city itself. What is going to be the price that is paid there, and what is going to be the turnout of all of these actions that have been taken? Because it feels like a bomb's about to go off, and the show and these characters will never be the same after this season. So that, like, I'm excited to see how like all of these explosive elements kind of come together, and then ultimately, what is the fallout from that? Where does this go, and where does this leave us? It's kind of like what Hunter said, as far as like, Matt and Fisk being on this collision course, and where does it all lead? Like, there's obviously ideas of how it could get there, but like, how do the characters feel about it? Like you mentioned, Jake, like Matt, and how does he feel about Matt Murdock and being Matt Murdock? Like, that's legitimately interesting. I think the show has, to this point, put me in a position where I can look at every single different thing that's on the board and find some level of intrigue with it, where I don't feel like, maybe besides BB's videos, that's the only thing, but otherwise, like, every character has something that you can pull on, that you could feel like, okay, I want to see where this goes and how these characters are affected, and where this goes going forward. And especially, oh yeah, old dude from the anti-vigilante task force. I need him to die. I need him to get off
Oh
as
yeah.
soon as possible. I hate him. I can't stand
How?
him. And that's how you know that's a good character, because you can't stand his ass. And that's another thing I want to see at the end of the season. So I'll just say that much. But right now, Daredevil Born Again is cooking on all levels. Very excited to see what these last 3 episodes bring. Jessica Jones around the corner. Maybe some other folks around the corner. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. But
Yeah, what the nurse reference? I mean,
I heard that.
Claire Temple, who, a lot of, as we discussed in our Spider-Man deep dive a few weeks back, you might be seeing Claire Temple in that one. So, if I feel like she's not far behind. I feel like we're definitely going to see her. And the way that it seems like Dario and Co are writing this and putting this together, seems like we're getting a lot of folks back. So that's exciting. That's exciting overall. But yeah, this show is really operating on a very high level, and we're excited to see where it goes in the final 3 episodes of the season. I want to thank our pal Hunter Radesi for joining us this evening. Where can we find you and follow? And then also tell us about what you got going on at KCBC as far as those watch parties are concerned.
For sure, yeah. I am not on a ton of socials these days, but the ones I am on, I am HRadesi14, so HRADESI and the number 14. Um, and follow me on Instagram specifically, because that's probably where I'll be posting the most on my
yep.
stories
Mhm.
to talk about. As some of you maybe know, last year I was doing a bunch of events in the tap room. KCBC is a local brewery based out of Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Just off the L Jefferson stop.
Yep, just off the Jefferson L stop. Last year I was working there in a larger capacity, and I was there for sort of like every watch party. This year I'm there on more of a like I'm helping host a couple events I put together. So a couple weeks ago, I mean, anyone who watches this who might have been there, it was actually a really solid turnout. I put together a Daredevil / like MCU specific trivia night, and a bunch of people came out, and then we all watched the episode together in the tap room. And that was Gloves Off. That was episode 4, so that was like a really fun one to watch with a bunch of people.
Mhm.
It's a really, really great atmosphere in there. I feel like I'm watching every episode at Comic Con. There's a couple other fun events every Tuesday. Like I said, there will be a watch party. I'll be at most of them. The season finale, just like last year, this is my main thing I want to plug. Uh, I'll be back emceeing and hosting and co-judging cosplay competition again in the tap room. Last year was great. We had a bunch of people come out. People were dressed like White Tiger. They were dressed like Daredevil. They were dressed like Elektra. I'm sure this year there'll be some Jessica Jones.
I mean,
cosplayers.
what was the best? The best cosplay was the guy who went as Charlie Cox as Bluey at Comic Con.
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Shout out him. Yeah, he came dressed as cosplaying as Charlie Cox, cosplaying as Bluey at Comic Con, which was a really really good one. Um,
And
yeah,
also, to your point, Hunter, as far as that is concerned, last season's finale, we had a couple of folks from the show actually show
Yeah.
up
that's true.
there.
I will say that one of those folks actually has popped in. Cole North, baby. Jeremy,
Salute.
he's a really really nice guy. He's already popped in for one this season.
Nice.
He's a really really chill dude. He's always down to like hang out. Um, I don't even that's not even a spoiler. Like I don't even know if he's in season 3. He just like has like houses in New York and in LA, and he like knows these watch parties happen. So he just like came through to hang out. But yeah, sometimes I mean Sanamna came through last season too, and like hung out after the finale, which was really cool. So
Yeah.
they're filming season 3 in New York right now. They were filming in like Bushwick Ridgewood area for a while, so I know that they're around. They know that we're doing it. So like, if you come through, some of the cast
I
might
mean,
pop in.
the thing I can guarantee is I will be there for the finale. So
And
That's
I'll tell you this much: I am endeavoring to try and make it for the finale as well. So
yeah, I mean, finales are always cool. There's always like, you never really know what to expect from a finale, and there's always big moments. And getting a bunch of people who are obviously super into this show, like dressed in costume, all like drinking and like being merry and watching the episode together on a big
yeah,
screen with surround sound, like it's a really fun time. Like you really feel like you're at Comic-Con, but you're just in like a brewery tap room in Brooklyn, and it's awesome. So definitely, if you're in New York and you want to come through for any watch night, but definitely the finale. I'll be there hosting a cosplay competition. If you want to be in the cosplay competition, all you got to do is show up in cosplay. You don't even have to sign up ahead of time. So come through.
awesome stuff, Hunter. And once again, thank you for joining us, bro. Jake, where can we find you, sir?
you can find me on Twitter at the J Christie, on Blue Sky at J Christie, and on TikTok at the J Christie. Having fun. Whatever. Yeah, you'll see me at least the finale. I'll try to maybe make it to another one, but as anyone who knows New York knows, on a weeknight, getting from Astoria to Bushwick is not
It's,
fun.
it's doing a lot.
It's just not fun. Like the last time I went, I said to myself, I'm like, because the two choices I have are I can take 2 trains, but that requires me to leave Long Island, go to Manhattan Island, and then go back to Long Island. And I find that constitutionally offensive to myself that I have to leave the island I'm on to go to another island, only to go back to the same island I was on. And so what I did was I took the N to the 7 to the G to the L, which is 4 trains, but I stayed on the island.
Good Lord.
And so I'll do that for the finale, I promise. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, for me it's just one. It's one train. So like I could definitely do it. So like hopefully the finale I get my schedule clear and we can make it and have a good time. I appreciate both you and Hunter. And as far as I'm concerned, you can follow me on Twitter at Anthony Canton _3. Follow me on TikTok at Anthony Canton 1 for these uh Nick playoff preview that I'm going to record probably after we get off here, and that'll be out by the time you listen to this. And yeah, I'll recap every Knicks playoff game, and yeah, the city's in a very it's a little bit of a nervous time. I mean, we even have our wonderful mayor talking about like he's concerned if the Knicks go far in the playoffs, half the city might burn down. But that we'll leave that for hopefully the Knicks have a nice long playoff run and then we can deal with that when it comes. But that's essentially where I'm at as far as that's concerned. And of course, as I mentioned, the Patreon, just check us out, support us $3. Discord and all of that wonderful stuff. And then also subscribe to the YouTube channel. And appreciate everybody for listening, watching. We are on a nice run with this show, and we continue it next week. For Hunter Radesi and Jake Christie, I'm Anthony Canton III, and this has been Marvel Cinematic University, and we will talk to you next time.